there, my name is Deb Shirkey, and I'm here to tell you about my very favorite piece of Tupperware. In January of 1992, I went to a Tupperware party. And I mean, I'd been to Tupperware parties before, but they were cooking in the microwave at these Tupperware parties. And the very first thing that lady told us is that when you cook 100 hours in your conventional oven, on your electric bill, it costs $75. And when you cook that same 100 hours in your microwave oven, on your electric bill, it costs $7. Now, that's a huge difference. In all these years, the rates have increased, but that ratio is still the same. And it's about a $75 difference when you cook 100 hours in your conventional oven in your microwave oven versus your conventional oven. But that's not the whole story, because you can cook 4 times the amount of food in that same 100 hours. And they did not take into account the amount of money you're spending to cool your house back down in Kansas or Oklahoma or anywhere in the country you're watching this. They didn't take that amount of money down into account that you're spending to cool your house back down in that number. I actually had a Tupperware manager a couple of years ago that they did the math for us, and her first 12 months in Tupperware, her electric bill dropped $836. And the only thing she did different is she began cooking in the microwave more than she had been. Now, the system that I'm about to tell you about today, you could purchase like 8 of them for $800. So I mean, 1 or 2 will get you by fine in your kitchen. Let me tell you though, okay, fast forward back to 1992 again. When I was sitting there listening to that gal tell me about saving this money on my electric bill, I didn't know all of that. All I knew is about the $70 difference for 100 hours, and I was a stay-at-home mom. And I really wanted to remain a stay-at-home mom, but it was a lot more difficult to live on one income in the 90s than we thought it would be. And so as I'm sitting there listening, I began thinking, maybe I should begin using my microwave as more than just a giant popcorn popper and the most expensive timer I've ever bought. You ever feel that way? And so I went to another party and I learned more about this. And by the end of the month, I was having my own Tupperware party. And when the lady came over to close my party, she started telling me about selling Tupperware. And she told me about the money and the flexibility and all of those things. But the main reason I signed up for Tupperware is because this piece of Tupperware right here, to this day, still my favorite piece of Tupperware, was in that starter kit thing she was going to let me have if I gave Tupperware a try. And so I signed up to get this 25 years ago. And within 8 months, I was driving a free company car, tags, taxes, tires, and insurance, all paid. And every 2 years, I get another brand new car. And I have for almost 25 years now. If you want to know more about that, check with your consultant that had you watch this video, or check with me later. But I'm here today to tell you about my favorite piece of Tupperware. This is called the Stack Cooker, and it will save you hundreds of dollars on your electric bill. But not only that, it will save you lots and lots of time for your family. First of all, this system will do a complete 3-course meal in your microwave in 20 minutes. Okay, let me tell you how that works. First of all, you take this 3-quart casserole container and you put your side dish in it. Maybe you want to put 1.5 cups of instant rice, 1.5 cups of water, and a can of cream of chicken soup. Or maybe you want to take your stovetop stuffing box and follow the microwave directions for 4 to 5 servings. Whatever you want to put in there for a side dish. Thinly slice up some potatoes and onions and put them in there. Whatever you want. About 1 pound of food is going to go in that piece. And then you're just going to want to set that aside for a minute. And then you're going to take out the middle size container, which is the 1 3/4 of a quart casserole container. And this one can work for your main dish. You're going to want to put about 2 pounds of food in this one. Okay. My favorite is 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breasts. Now, microwaves cook from the outside in. They're about 3 inches long, and they only cook from about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, okay? And the interesting thing about microwaves is it's not really the microwaves that cook your food. The microwaves are kind of in the air like radio waves, but they're attracted to the food molecules in your food in this order, just like we are: fat, sugar, and water molecules in that order. First the fat, then the sugar, then the water, just like we are. And they cause those molecules to rub together and vibrate. And that's what causes the heat, and that's what causes the cooking process. So first of all, they come from the outside in. So if I'm working with like chicken or something like that, and it's kind of a thick chicken breast, I would want to cut it in half, put the meatier portion to the outside, and then put it in a circle around the outside edges, okay? Then you could coat this with some of our amazing Tupperware seasonings, steak and chop, or maybe Italian, or whatever kind of chicken you want, or just your favorite barbecue sauce from the grocery store. Put it on there. Then you're going to take your main dish, which is about now 2 pounds of food, and you're going to put it right inside your side dish, which again is about 1 pound of food. Okay. Then we're going to take our top dish, and you could put a broccoli, carrots, any kind of vegetable in here that you wanted to. I prefer dessert. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a can of cherry pie filling and put it in the bottom container. Then we're going to take a Jiffy cake mix or half of a regular cake mix, maybe throw some oatmeal in it, cut a stick of butter into it, and sprinkle that on top. Then we're going to take our dessert and we're going to put it right on top of our main dish. So the dessert's going to have about 1 pound of food in it as well. So you've got about 1 pound on the top, about 2 pounds in the middle, and about 1 pound on the bottom. The general rule of thumb in microwave cooking is 5 minutes per pound on high. So we take 1 plus 2 plus 1, and you have 4 pounds of food. We're going to take that times 5 minutes per pound, and we're going to put this in the microwave for 20 minutes. Okay. Now, as I said, those microwaves are about 3 inches long. They cook from the outside in, and they only go into the food about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. As they go into the food, they're attracted to 3 things in the food: the fat, the sugar, and the water molecules in the food, in that order, just like we are. First the fat molecules, then the sugar molecules, and the water molecules. What they do is cause those molecules to rub together and vibrate, and that's what causes the heat, and that's what causes the cooking process. So even I can remember all those years ago from 8th grade science that when you remove the source of friction, the item has to slow down. It's not just going to immediately stop. So what actually happens is your food continues to cook in the microwave another 20 to 25% longer. And that's going to happen whether you allow for that in your cooking time or whether you don't. And so that's why on the back of like frozen dinners and things like that, it'll say, let's stand 1 minute, let's stand 2 minutes. This is the reason, because the food's still cooking. This is also the reason that we end up with rubber chicken, things overcooked, because we tend to cook it until it's done, just like we would in the oven. And then it's going to keep cooking another 20 to 25% longer. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to leave this in the microwave for 25 minutes, but only run it for 20. During the 25 minutes, there's no stopping, stirring, turning, or messing with it in any way, shape, or form. You can take a hot bath, hang out with your kids, go for a walk, play with the dog. You know it's not going to be like the oven. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to shut off. It's going to stay in there warm if you don't get right back to it. If you've got ball games after work and school and you've got lots going on, this is such a great way to plan for your family and save on those fast food bills. Also, if you want to make it the night before, the 2 larger containers come with 2 round Tupperware seals for the refrigerator. So all you have to do then is bring it home or come home, take it out of the fridge, take the seals off, stack the 2 bottoms together, add your dessert or your side dish, and slide it in your microwave. Also, for the top, if it was something that did need to be covered, like on the stovetop, maybe a vegetable, you would cover it with some wax paper. Saran wrap is too tight of a seal. With my example, cherry cobbler, if you wouldn't typically cover it in the oven, you don't typically cover it in the microwave. The only exception to that is meats. We always cover meats in the microwave. But if you kind of wanted the dry crust on the top, then you're not going to cover it just like you would in the oven. Now, that is really cool, and that is really awesome. And on the nights that you want to do a 3-course meal, it works out great. But I also know that many of you may not cook that way for your family every single day. I don't anymore. We're empty nesters now, so that doesn't happen in a lot of our house. But we use these containers individually all the time. In fact, these are such great, just basic microwave containers. If you have a microwave, you need these. Number 1 benefit, well, number 10 benefit, I've said a lot already. They don't get hot. These handles right here are completely stay cool handles. And even the container, it will get warm, like when I'm, doing a 3-course meal in the microwave, but it won't even turn my hand red. So it's very safe, unlike a glass dish, which can break, which can burn you, which can burn your children. But the best piece I haven't even talked about yet. If this system did nothing but what I'm about to tell you, it would be worth every penny that it costs. There was an article in USA Today when I first started selling Tupperware that microwave cooking is the healthiest way to cook your meats, because the microwaves attack the fat and break it away from the meat more quickly than any other way of cooking. And what we have is we have a system, and again, microwaves cook from the outside in. So if you're doing a hamburger in here, you're going to take the hamburger and crumble it up around the outside edges. Then you're going to set the colander, okay, so it's got holes in it for the hamburger to drain, into the 1 3/4 quart. This is the one we had the chicken in earlier. You could also put it in the one that we have the rice in, either one. If it's just 1 pound of meat, this one is just fine. If it's larger, it'll hold up to about 2.5 to 3 pounds. And so if you're going to have more grease, then drain it in the deeper one. Then we're going to take our top piece, which now is going to be, instead of our cherry cobbler pan, it's going to be our cover. It also covers the 2 larger casserole containers by themselves if you're using them just for hamburger helper or macaroni and cheese by themselves. But it will also cover it with the colander. You're going to brown it again for 5 minutes per pound on high. You do want to stir it once for every pound of meat. If you don't stir it, you're going to end up with it kind of big and clumpy like a meatloaf. But think about doing a meatloaf, draining the fat off, and having all the grease off that meatloaf instead of pouring it off the top and knowing your family's getting so much grease. That's how I always do my meatloaf. When you take this out after that second half of the cooking time, or if you've got 2 pounds in there, you're going to stir it a couple times or however many times, and you'll kind of learn your own microwave and how you stir it and all of that. I like it really crumbly, so I stir it at least once, 2 or 3 times if I have more hamburger. Every bit of the brown, fine, crumbly hamburger is in here. And it is not weird, strange, gray, or gross. It is brown, fine, crumbly hamburger. And every bit of the gross, awful, you are not going to believe what just cooked off your meat has drained through. It is 2 to 3 times more than you will get when you fry it on the stovetop. It is eye-opening, and it doesn't matter if you buy the fattiest meat or even if you grow your own cow and have the leanest meat, you're going to be shocked how much grease comes out of that. Obviously less if you have the less fat meat, more if you have the more fat meat. What I challenge you to do is to get this in your home and then just take 1 package of hamburger and break it in half and do half on the stove, half in the microwave, and you will never go back to cooking on the stovetop again. It is just eye-opening. There is one more piece, however, because we haven't talked about dessert yet. And you got to have dessert. Well, we did talk about that cherry cobbler thing. But this, how about chocolate? How about chocolate cake? How about an 8-minute chocolate cake? Basically, what you do is you take your cake batter, just mix it up like you would on the back of the box, pour it around the outside edges, and you're going to have a cake in your microwave in 8 minutes. Now, one other thing I want to talk about is the temperatures of your microwave. How many of you, every single time you turn your microwave on, turn it on high no matter what you're doing? Your microwave on high is between 450 and 500 degrees. So if you've ever wondered why that macaroni and cheese is kind of rubbery and kind of gross, but it's for the kids or grandkids, so who cares? It's because macaroni and cheese doesn't need to be broiled. I need to spoiled it. So one of the things I want to encourage you, whether you're reheating on a paper plate or in an awesome Tupperware container, reduce the temperature of your leftovers when you're reheating to about 50% power. That's about 300 degrees. They are almost going to taste normal. It's crazy. Same thing with the cake. You would never do a cake on 450 or 500 or broil in the oven. So we won't want to do it that high in the microwave either. We're going to do it at about 70% power, which is about 350 degrees, just like in your oven, 350 degrees. And if you don't know how to change the power level of your microwave, you probably need to host a Tupperware party and let your consultant teach you that. Also, one other little hint on the cake is if you take our cover or our fruit cobbler pan and invert it into the bottom and set it on like a pedestal, your cake will cook a little more evenly as well. Thanks for your attention today. Thanks for choosing Tupperware, and let your consultant know if you have any additional questions about our stack cooker or any of our wonderful Tupperware products.